Welcome to Worky Wednesdays, a podcast where we explore the fascinating journey of life from two very different perspectives. While our kids may inherit the physical traits like the color of our eyes, our facial features, and even our body shapes, they don't inherit the way that we think or the way that we feel. Life struggles shape each of our minds and our paths in unique ways. Join Junior and I as we navigate this journey together, sharing our diverse opinions on various aspects of life. We'll also bring on inspiring guests to discuss what motivates them and drives them to succeed, help them become the best versions of themselves, and share their message. Tune in as we dive deep into these conversations, bump heads, bond, laugh, and discover the beauty of different viewpoints. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the
ride. Welcome back, everybody. It's Worky Wednesdays, and it's Jesse Jr.
And I am Jesse Sr.
And today we got a great podcast coming for you guys tonight. We have a really good episode. We have a young gentleman over here to the left of me, someone who's been a friend of mine for so many years now. I've known this kid for as long as I can remember, and he is a young entrepreneur. He is a businessman, and not only is he that, he is a great friend of mine, and I want to welcome out everybody. My man, Jared Arner. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
Jared Arner of SoScare Club, baby.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Brother.
Hey,
Nice
cheers
to
to that,
meet
man.
You guys, bro.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Glad you. Yep, absolutely, Pops. So, Jared, what's up, man?
What up, dude? Thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I am so stoked that you came today, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
pretty interesting last night for you. So,
It's been a rough couple days, but
Just-
we're here now.
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, so just so everybody knows, my guy here got into a wreck last night and still got out here to get on the episode today.
Ding the old truck up a little bit. We'll be good.
Hell yeah, man. So, hey, man, I appreciate you actually coming out here today, dude, because
Glad it was nothing serious.
Yeah.
Happy you made it. That
Thanks,
you made it
man.
out here.
Thanks.
And, yeah,
glad
looking
glad
forward
to be here, man. Glad to be
chatting.
here.
hell yeah, dude. So let's rock and roll, man. We're going to have some fun tonight. Tonight's episode is going to consist of cars. We're going old school, new school, present day. We're gonna kick back here and really get into it. So
So from what I gather, obviously, you're a car guy. Yeah. You have an extensive background. How many years with cars, experience do you have?
So I started out, I was 14 years old in the backseat of my buddy's Honda Civic going to random parking lot car meets. And over the years, I mean, I bought my own cars then. I've built cars. I've been around cars. And then I got into the scene side of it a lot more, where I'm going to car shows that are much bigger, and there's thousands of people that are coming out to these shows. So I'd say, probably a good maybe 6-7 years now I've been in and out of the scene kind of doing it. And now, seriously doing it, I'd say at least a good 5.
that's pretty crazy, man. And how old are you, bro? So
24.
You're 24, man. 24 and been in the car scene that long, man. So
Yep.
brief some of your background, man. So your name's Jared, 24. You're this car guy. Where you from? What are you doing? What is SoScare? What's going on in your life right now, man?
Well, life's been pretty crazy, right? I'm from Bethlehem, PA, born and raised here. Been here my whole life, but now it seems like I'm anywhere but here anymore, right? So
And that's awesome to hear, brother.
I've been doing it for a long time, but I got really into the stance car scene, and I worked for a couple different brands over the years, and recently I picked up working with this brand SoScare. They're up out of Canada, but I bought the U.S. franchise of it, so I run the entire brand down here in the States. So I hit over 25 shows this year. I've been all up and down the East Coast, man. Traveling and
Really
having
cool.
a great time. So
Beautiful.
it's pretty sick.
Beautiful. Hey,
That's
man.
really cool. Absolutely,
That's
man.
fucking awesome, man.
So you bought a franchise that originated in Canada.
Yep.
Is that somebody that you met personally?
So funniest thing though, cars. So everything I tell you guys tonight, you got to realize that cars is how I got here. If it wasn't for the cars, it wasn't for me building my cars, I would have never built the network that I have through social media and through the cars themselves, right? So the dude's up in Canada, his name's Brandon Yen. He's been running this brand since I want to say about 2016. He's been doing it for a pretty long time, and past year I met him at Gatlinburg last year. So Gatlinburg is my biggest show of the year. It's one of the biggest shows we hit.
That's on the screen right
And,
there.
yeah, it's actually what's on the screen. Yeah.
And
So
where is that at?
Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Okay.
So it's up in Tennessee. It's in the Smoky Mountains. But you got guys that come from Canada, Australia, like all over creation, that come to this one small mountain town, and we take over the town for about
So fucking cool,
it's
man.
absolutely insane. But I've been going. This past year was my 4th year at that show.
Wow,
The first 2 years, I was with this other brand called Static Struggle. I worked with those guys for a really long time. Great guys over there. They're a more local group, and then left working with those guys. Took a year to myself and went up to Gatlinburg. Stayed in this cabin with SoScare. Never knew any of these guys from Canada. Never met them before. It was my first time ever walking in the door, meeting these guys, and got into crazy conversations. And just in that 5 days at Gatlinburg, by the end of it, we're talking about how I could be incorporated in the business and how we can put it down here heavily. And they already had guys down here, but we wanted to take it to that next level and see what it took to get us there. And within a year, it's been crazy, but I've built a family now out of with these guys in the brand.
Yeah.
So I love what I do, and I love every single person I worked with the brand. So it's been going really well.
What an incredible story for someone that's so young in the industry and just young in general.
Yeah. This is insane.
That's incredible.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely awesome. What's it like down there, man? So you're from Bethlehem. You know, Jared, like I said, man, we go years back, brother. From the small town bars to the parties and whatnot, man. We've always had that little connection, man. But this whole traveling thing, man. What's that like, man? So is that something that you've always been used to? Like, what is traveling easy? Like, because you transport your car, I'd assume.
Most times, yeah. Most
Right?
times I'm taking the car. If not, I'm taking my booth and all the merchandise, which you're looking at hundreds of different pieces of merchandise that are coming with
So
me.
you have a trailer, a travel trailer?
So no,
with you?
usually it's just my truck. I load it. We're talking a Ram 1500 loaded to the brim, filled with merchandise to the roof. And I've been flying by the seat of my pants, going wherever it'll take me, right?
What a fascinating story. So, at what point, where did you transition from like car enthusiast to business owner? Like, when did that become reality? Because you mentioned going to Canada, like during that 5-day process. Is that when it clicked?
So for me, my actual business side of it started when I was working for Static Struggle. So Static Struggle they're based out of Reading, PA. They hosted shows up at Maple Grove Raceway. I worked for them for 4 or 5 years, and at that point, I was a young buck coming up in this industry. I didn't know anybody. My network was very small. I didn't know people outside of PA. And when it all first started for me, I was here. I was in PA. I was doing my thing here. I had a whole lot of people here that knew me. Mm-hmm. But anytime I left PA, it was like shell shock because I didn't know anybody.
Right.
It's this I'm going to a new place or a new city. And at the time, like, they were in the growing process. I was in the growing process with them. So I got to experience that travel a little bit. But for me, when it got serious was, I'd say, like, right after, probably my last 2 years of Static Struggle was when we're hosting shows up at Maple Grove. We're tearing it down. These guys are getting after it. I was working with Owen, the guy at the time who owns it. He's an awesome guy, and we're hosting crazy shows, bringing out thousands of spectators.
Jeez.
And that's when I got the taste of the fact that like, there was something there that I could grab onto and try to make like somewhat of a career out of it, right?
That is so inspiring, man. It's fucking
help me understand
awesome.
this now. So you're hosting shows. So you're the focal point. You're the center of the web, essentially, and you're reaching out via social media, I would assume.
It's I'd say like 90% Instagram.
Yeah. So this community, these car communities, we're talking like this is a big thing. It's a really big thing. Yeah. See, I'm old school.
Yeah. So I am full with emotions
so
right
like
now. This
for
is
you,
so
you
cool,
were saying
man.
like local small town, right?
Yeah. So you went
For
from this
me,
local small town to
I go to these shows now, and like I'm talking to guys in California. I'm on the phone with guys that are in Canada almost every day. I'm talking to the guy who runs the brand with me. He's up there on the phone with me every day, and it's so weird because like we're in so much different time zones. Like he's up on the west coast of Canada. I'm over here.
So now, Jared, now that you mentioned that, I do kind of want to dive deep into that. So we got a little bit of your background, man, and now that we're diving into this whole SoScare thing, man. So Canada's a little bit of ways away. So you being here in PA, you know, I know you're doing all this traveling. What exactly, for the people at home and people who aren't into cars, what exactly does work consist of when you say those things?
So like for me, when I say work to people, I laugh at it. I chuckle. Because, like, you know, they say like you hear that people say like when you do what you love, you don't work a single day.
My man.
I never understood that until about this year, right? So like
beautiful, man.
SoScare, a lot of people don't realize SoScare is my full-time job. That is all.
Okay,
I do.
cool.
So
that's why I wanted to get so it's your full-time job.
So I was doing it. I had a part-time job for a little bit, but I went back doing SoScare full-time, and like as that being my full-time job, it added an extra stress level. Definitely added a
For
little
sure.
more to it. But like, I travel nonstop. Every week I'm in a new city.
That's
like,
awesome,
even right
man.
Now, like today, I'm planning to go to Florida tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
Last week I was in Florida. I came back to PA for a couple of days, and I'm back on my next tour date.
Hey, man. Dude, once again, Jared, brother, I'm so glad you made it here today, man. Thank you so much for making this, man. It's fucking awesome, brother.
So so for instance, I'm just trying to visualize this. So tomorrow you go to Florida, and in your truck you're transporting a big tent set up.
It's a 10 by 20 like tent.
Yeah.
Tent,
and you have tables, and then you'll
4 or
set
5
up
tables. Yep.
Yeah, you set up all of your merch, and you display pictures of some product or work that you've done.
So usually a lot of the things I do is all right. So let's break it down this way. So last weekend I was in Florida, right? I rolled out of PA on Wednesday. I stopped in South Carolina for a night. I slept, rolled the rest of the way into Florida. On Saturday morning, we got up, went to the racetrack that the event was at. I set up my booth and my tent and locked everything down for the night, make sure everything was like weighted down, nothing's going to fly away. We're not going to have any issues, right?
Dude.
And next morning, I'm up at 6:30 in the morning, unloading my truck, putting all the merchandise out on the tables, and it's like anything from steering wheels to air fresheners to T-shirts. We have chopstick sets, silverware sets, like the most insane things you wouldn't think of are things that I have to sell at these shows.
That is badass, man.
By the time 9 a.m. hits, I'm fully set up, selling stuff all day long. I'm finishing up that show that day. I'm packing the truck back up. I'm getting back in the car. I'm driving my ass back to PA.
Fuck yeah, dude. My man, the grind never stops, brother. Grind never stops.
Man,
So it's funny.
stops.
So all that merchandise, dude. What is your biggest sale when it comes to
You'd be
merchandise?
surprised. Like I joked about the chopsticks.
Yeah, I was just
Those are actually like one of my top hitting items.
Hell
Those
yeah,
sell
dude.
out almost any time I have them. I go to shows, and it's one of those things that people walk up to your table,
They're
and
like,
they
"What
see
the
that
fuck?"
sitting down, they're like, "Are those fucking chopsticks, dude? Like,
Right.
where did you even think?"
And
to
it's pretty
get
cool
those
because I feel like the
from?
car community is really into the anime
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of shit
100%.
too.
You
So
get
the
a little
anime
bit of
and the
both.
cars, you got a little bit of the
Yeah,
feed. So
definitely, dude,
that's
definitely.
cool, man. That's really fucking cool, dude. That's really badass, man.
But
It's interesting that you said it, and that was a great question too. So you're getting creative. You're coming up with product to sell, and you get a catchy item that just so happens to stick, and
So now actually, going off that, so Jared, I know you don't know too much about my father, but my father is a businessman as well. So I know he is so Jared, hey man, dude, you're fucking killing it, man. And my dad is one of my biggest inspirations as far as being a salesman. And hearing this shit from you, man, you being, my age, hearing your standpoint, man, it's fucking incredible, man. Seriously, it's a really incredible thing hearing what you're doing because I see a lot of what you're doing and a lot of the things that my dad tells me to do in my life, man. So it's really seriously impressive, man. And so, Dad, seeing this young, what would you call this, entrepreneurship? So seeing this from your standpoint, you're in the sales world. Does the way that he goes about sales, does that correspond to all types of sales? Like, is this?
Well, he's definitely on the right track, and so I also set up a booth and things like that to sell to display my product. So it's refreshing seeing that you're doing it a lot younger than when I started. I became a business owner at 23 years old. I became a business owner, but my target market was more localized. So I'm intrigued. And it's just a fascinating story that your market is national, so to speak.
And that's the other thing about it that's really sick. So I'm lucky to be where I am, right? So when I walked into the SoScare thing, there's a lot of these big brands out here that have been doing it for a long time. But the difference of SoScare is that him being up in Canada, we touch so many different areas of people, right? So you got guys on the West Coast that they're buying certain items that guys on the East Coast aren't necessarily buying.
Sure.
Brandon, the guy up in Canada, is a mastermind. He's willing to try anything and like fly by the seat of his pants while he does.
And that's the kid I met, right?
So like, yeah.
Oh, and that kid is, dude. I wish you would have came tonight,
He's
man.
like, he is legitimately like just balls to the wall. Like,
Coolest
he will
person
do
ever.
anything that you recommend to him, he'll try it. Even if it doesn't work, we'll try it.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of risk and reward with this and what I do, and like, we've learned that in the past year for sure. There's some stuff we've tried and it flops, it doesn't sell, and it's still sitting on our truck. Like, there's other stuff like the chopsticks, right? Chopsticks, something so stupid. We threw that out there, and next thing you know, like, he's been doing those for years now, and they just sell, man.
Right.
They go. But it's all about risk and reward, and there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
It's amazing to me that at such a young age that you're willing to take these leaps, to jump and just do it. And that's that shows signs of great leadership and just like a go-getter mentality just to go out there and do it. I mean, I'm sure you failed drastically. You just mentioned some things just don't even sell.
And I actually did want to get into that. So, you know, Dad, you've been a salesman for so many years now, Dad. And, you know, Dad, I've watched you go through trial and error for so long. I mean, you know, I look at you now, man, and I see you're at the best version of yourself now. I'm looking at Jared, and this kid's already... He's at a standpoint that where he's doing it, man, and it's very, very impressive. So now, Jared, aside from all the good things, you know, the traveling's great, man. I'm sure it's great, but, you know, high risk, high reward, like you said. Yeah. What has been your biggest struggle along this journey, brother?
So that's actually a very loaded question. Right? so for me, like the traveling, right? I've done 25 shows this year. 25 shows. Out of those 25, maybe 5 of them were actually like local to here. And when I say local, I mean within 3 hours.
Oh.
So like everything I've done, I did Chicago, I've done Atlanta, I've been all over the East Coast basically, up and down and back and forth at this point. There's shows that I've hit that I roll in there, flying by the seat of my pants. I need to make X amount of dollars. I need to hit a certain mark. Yeah. And they flop. There's shows that you go to where it's trial and error. Now, no small business in the first year does well. You know this. Right. It's just common knowledge at that point, right? And to be where I'm at now, I would say I did pretty good this year, but like I'm always going to be hard. I'm the hardest critic on myself at all times.
And you got to be the way. You have to be.
There's been shows that I banked on this year that I was like, I'm going to go down here, I'm going to make a good amount of money, and I've gotten there, and the show rained out, or right. the foot traffic was low, we didn't make as much as we wanted to at this show, or something happened along the way that it flopped, and that's when you learn pretty quickly that your good shows and your good events and your good money-making spots are the ones that you got to hold on to and realize, like, all right, I'm going to cushion myself.
And I find that very interesting. I find that very, very interesting because everybody has their own ways of doing their own thing.
Of course, yeah.
So the fact that...
You adapt and overcome.
And because, like, as far as I know, everyone's like always like, oh, you know, you hear a lot about exploring out and expanding and doing different things. But sometimes I guess that doesn't even work. So it's just so interesting to hear just the tactics behind
listen, dude,
how
you
things
talk
work
tactics.
for it, man.
There's things that, like, I'll go to a show, right, and there's something as simple as changing the table that I put my T-shirts on or where I put my steering wheels on. They're like simple things.
So what about, like, confidence? I'm sure confidence has to go into a huge, 100%. like, because, you know, you show up, you're there, because you've been to Cars and Coffee. Cars and Coffee is a big thing around here in the Valley. We've all attended at least one of them before. And for those who don't know, it's something that the Bethlehem Steel Stacks does on the first.
That is our biggest event here in the Lehigh Valley.
Hell yeah, brother. So, you know, everybody, check it out. Cars and Coffee. It is the first Sunday of every month, correct?
Yeah, I think they might have just had their season closer now. Come spring, roll back up
so,
again,
where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? Brought up Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, no, just that you're able to adapt
to.
Yeah, and
so like,
I'm curious to find out though. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious to find out though. So, when you're not all over the place, like you mentioned, you know, 25 shows that you've done already.
Yeah.
Cars and Coffee is something that you do locally. So when you're not doing Cars and Coffee, when you're not traveling all over the East Coast.
So funny thing about this is, since I've taken this brand job over, right, and since I've taken on the whole East Coast, where I'm running up and down, I'm going nuts all the time. Cars and Coffee is the one show that I allow myself to not actually be working the event.
Okay.
That is the one show that I refuse to set up at because it's the one show that's local to me that I'm like, I'm gonna go enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go actually, walk around. I'm gonna see these cars because besides that, I don't get to do that. Now there's a whole other side of that comes with the job though, right? Like, to you guys, it's like, all right, let's go to Cars and Coffee. We're going to go walk around. And to me, it's, I'm going to go to Cars and Coffee. I'm going to talk to guys all day long. I'm handing out business cards the entire time.
Right.
I'm chatting with these guys to see what shows are coming up, what's going to be the next best show for me locally to go hit, and what shows are going to be not so worth it, what shows are not getting the best publicity or the best following with it, right? So, like, for me, Cars and Coffee is always like it's like my undercover operation where I'm going to feel it out and I'm going to see what people have to say about other shows that are going to be happening.
Now that you say that is actually so interesting to hear. So, you know, you've been to 25 states, man. Do you choose those 25 states for a certain reason, or because like you mentioned, because you said you like to go to just to Cars and Coffee to chill. Now, when it comes to making money on a business standpoint, as far as traveling to different states, what makes you choose which state to go to? What allows you to choose which event to go to? Is there a certain audience, just your friends thing, or is it just the thrill of it?
So like, all right, Cars and Coffee, same thing. Like I was saying, but you get to do your investigating style there.
Right.
For me, I hit the same type of shows regularly, right? Everything I do is stance cars. It's all cars that are lowered on the ground. There's guys with all types of crazy suspension. They're coming to these shows with these crazy show style builds to set up. Now, when I go to a show like Cars and Coffee, I'm talking to guys that are muscle guys. I'm talking to guys that are outside of just my normal every weekend realm of people I talk to. And I get to learn a lot about like drift or drag events that are coming up that some old guy's grandfather is going to with his old Coyote or whatever it may be. He wants to go throw down the strip. And those are the events that I hear about later. A lot of these other events, it comes down to like back to Instagram network, right? So like I have promoters I worked with all year. There's promoters that I've worked with back to back to back. Like
that's cool, man.
Slam Enough is probably the biggest like stance car show promoter there is in the States right now.
Cool.
I've hit almost every single one of their shows besides their shows out west because I know that I'm going to a good quality show every time.
Right.
Like I'll drive 20 hours for a Slam Enough show versus like some of these other promoters I might not necessarily do that.
Right.
Now, going back to trial and error though, there's shows I've hit this season that I was banking on doing fantastic at. Now, I've hit them this year, and I won't go back next year because I went down to some of these shows, and I'm like, it wasn't what they said it was going to be. Or the area it's in, the people there aren't necessarily as open to spending money as they are in certain areas. Like, the economy's a little different wherever we are at the time. That's definitely how I decide certain shows I'm not going to hit. Or
Interesting.
Shows
And you're absorbing all of this at such a young age. That's fascinating.
Dude.
So when it's not where's home base? So are you doing some of this stuff to these vehicles? Like what?
So this is gonna sound hilarious. I run the U.S. franchise of SoScare out of my apartment.
Okay.
And it's when I'm home, I'm cutting stickers all day long. I'm making stickers. I'm on a vinyl cutter, or I'm on the phone with the guy in Canada. I'm figuring out what I need for my next show.
Cool. Okay.
Or I'm coming back from a show. I'm taking inventory of what I have left to either make sure something's not missing or make sure whatever I have for next show is where I want it to be.
Do you coordinate the shows, or does your guy...
We both will bounce off each other.
Okay.
It's kind of a 50-50. There's certain shows that I know about that he doesn't know about, and there's vice versa. There's times he'll hit me up and be like, yo, like, so-and-so from X, Y, and Z brand is texting me about this show. It's here. Is it something you find worth hitting?
So now, Jared, honest to God, man, so what I'm getting from this, man... There's levels to this shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's levels to this shit, huh?
It's not hanging out in parking lots anymore in the backseat of a Honda Civic, that's for sure.
No shit, man. So Dad was, because this is a new era. I feel like this has been a thing. I feel like the car era is semi-new, but semi-not new. My father, Dad, what do you got in the garage, Dad?
I got an old '82 Corvette.
Okay.
All right.
So I want
my daughter.
Good old muscle car. We love them.
Yep. So I wanted to get into that a little bit. So we as far as that goes, that's a classic car.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work? Have you worked on a classic car before?
So I worked on a lot of Japanese cars. I worked at Subaru. I've worked at Hyundai. I've worked at Volkswagen. So I've touched on European and Japanese cars a lot, right? Okay. American cars is something that like they're tried and true. You're gonna see them wherever you go in the United States. You're gonna see a Corvette. You're gonna see a Mustang. You're gonna see these cars. Now, what you decide to do to that car is what's gonna change where you end up in the car scene. We'll say. Right?
Very cool, man.
So there's guys that go out there and they buy a car like that and they build it for power. They put some big lifters in it and they want to make some crazy power down the strip and they want to push crazy power up. There's other guys that'll they'll buy an old car like that, and you're gonna hate to hear this, but they'll buy an old car like that and they'll chop it apart and put a wide body kit on it with some air suspension. They'll dump it on the ground, and they're coming to the same shows we are, right?
And that's so crazy, man.
It's crazy to me though, because you realize how quickly when with the traveling comes me seeing these crazy cars that I would never see being here in the Lehigh Valley. Right. There's guys with with old Corvettes that are built to the 9, but in all reality, it's not making any power going down the strip. It's built to the 9 with the crazy air suspension and the $4,000 wheels it has on it.
No
and
shit.
It's just built to crazy specs.
Right. So,
but it's weird to see how the two scenes of it collide.
Right. And that's what's and I think that is what's so beautiful about the car community, man, because you get a little bit of everything, man. You got, and everybody's into cars, man. Everybody can connect through a car, man, whether it's through a car system, dude. Music is such a huge thing. Somebody could have the best car's sound system or the best wheels or rims, so it's really cool. So now, Dad, this whole car scene is so big nowadays. Now you have this beautiful car sitting in your garage now. When you were a young buck like us, was the car scene anything like it was today? Like, can you relate to this at all? Like, have you strolled up to a parking lot and seen a bunch of cars, like, just posted up?
It got very Tokyo Drift. I don't know when
Right,
that happened.
right. So very, like, was there any Fast and Furious vibes growing up?
There was. It just, and you would think that I would know about cars. I have a car, somewhat of an extensive background with in the military. I worked on vehicles, and it just was something that you see them around, and I just never really grasped onto it.
Right.
And just because my profession, I was going along a completely separate industry, I was always fascinated by it, and I just never really knew how I would go about doing things to my own vehicle. So a funny question that I have for you is,
oh shit,
I want you to talk to me in straight car talk because I want you to confuse the shit out of me. I want you to tell me in all of your car layman talk on what your ideal car is, all specced out, like what, just say, this type of car with this, and this done to it, and this, and I'm just curious. I just want to hear how.
I'm curious. This is gonna be very fucking interesting.
I want an old Nissan Skyline, R33 action with a big old turbo and the fat downpipe going down with a mean tune on it. Some good air suspension, so I get to get the best of both, where it'll still have some fun with the car, but still get my air suspension on it. I want I'm a suspension guy. Through and through, I'm a suspension guy.
So wait, what year though? What year Skyline are we going?
So I'm gonna go R33. So I don't even know. I think off the top of my brain, I don't even know what it's in the 90s.
90s, like a 90s.
It's a 90s Skyline.
Yeah.
But they're like the kind of, when people think about Skylines, that's usually the one they go with, unless they're like thinking the new age GTRs where they're
and the transmissions were so different then too.
Everything was different.
Everything was different.
My buddy, so like these guys are buying these cars and they're buying them and they're bringing them over to the States to work on them.
Are you going right side?
But here's the thing: right-hand drive cars.
Yeah.
They're going to work on these cars and everything's in Japanese. So you're sitting here on Google Translate and you're trying to read what this Japanese plate says from 20-something years ago.
And that's something you've experienced?
Oh, yeah.
You've experienced that?
So my buddy Troy, right? My buddy Troy buys a Skyline. He brings it over here. He calls me one day and he's like, yo, dude, like, I'm going to go work on this car. Like, come stop by the shop. So I pull up to his garage. He's working at the time. And he's like, yo, follow me home. I'm like, cool. Driving behind this dude, and the whole way home, his taillights are out. And I'm like, yo, dude. He's like, what's up? I'm like, are your lights on? He's like, yeah. And I'm like,
no,
your taillights aren't on, dude. I'm like, they're not working right now. So he's like, all right, follow me back to the house. Like, we'll get some flashlights out and take a look at it. So I pop open the back of this dude's car. We're looking at these taillights. I'm like, I don't know why they're not working. Let's look at the sheets and see what it says. And it's all in Japanese. And it's all in Japanese to the point that, like,
dude,
we washed our hands of it that night. We gave up on it. We were like, yeah, we'll go back to it the next day. I think he figured it out like a week later. But, like,
dude,
a whole lot of Google Translate went into that. And it's one of those things where, like, when you get to know cars really well, you want to challenge. You want to challenge yourself, and you want to you want to change something up. Oh, it's like so at some point you realize people like that pay to get their cars worked on. I tell them this all the time, and they don't believe me. I'm like, it's just nuts and bolts. It's all nuts and bolts, dude. You start pulling shit apart, you'll figure it out. You might break some shit on the way there, but you'll figure it out.
Right.
Like, everything. So I went to school for it. I went to school to learn how to work on cars.
I fucking love that mindset, Jared.
I credit none of it that I went to school for my knowledge of cars. Everything I learned was in a shop tearing shit apart. Right. And, like, to this day, there's cars I go to work on, and, like, I have zero confidence in what I'm doing in the sense of the fact that I'm just like throwing it at
I'm
the board
doing
and
it.
seeing where we're gonna land, right?
Yeah.
But by the end of it, I figured it out.
What was your most challenged project that you've done over the years?
Great question. That's a great question.
That's actually
man.
really good. I don't even know if I'd call it a project, right? So I bought a Mini Cooper at one point, and that was
the
my
Mini
European, my
Coupe.
European.
I
phase,
remember
right?
it.
So I had a Mini Cooper. It was a R53. It's a 2006. Last year they made them supercharged, and I'm driving down the highway, and I think there was another Mini actually on the road with me at the time, and I was like, "Oh, let me be a dickhead." Try to catch up to
And
him.
remind you, a Mini Coupe is like 4 feet long.
I called it the go-kart on crack.
It
That's
is.
literally what
It
it
really-
was.
it
was
fucking is.
For what it was the fastest little car I've ever driven.
3-cylinder?
It was so stupid.
A
It just-
3-cylinder
it just
too.
went.
It's
It just
fucking
went.
yep.
So I go to get on and I downshift and I snap an axle. And when the axle snaps, the knuckle comes out, it swings around, it blows a fist-sized hole in the transmission of this car.
God.
Now, like, Mini Coopers are some of the tightest engine bays you could possibly have to work in. Like,
Well, it's so small.
you have
and
no air to get
compact.
your hands
No,
in there,
no.
and like I'd
assume you'd have to
hate-
use a lift.
Oh yeah, so like I called my buddy right away. My buddy Kevin. This kid is my ride or die. Anytime something happens and I need a bailout, I call Kevin, dude. Kevin's my guy. I call. He
Shout out
comes
to
up with the
Kevin.
truck. He's like, all right, dude. I'll load it up, take it back to the garage. I'll
Good
start
shit,
looking
man.
At it. I'm like, all right, cool.
Hell yeah.
I call Kevin. He picks it up. He's like, dude, like I think you blew the trans on it. I'm like, all right, we'll figure it out. So I go out to Delco. I'm out in Delaware County the next weekend. We're at his buddy's garage on a lift, and we put the car in the air. I already got a new transmission. We knew I needed a trans. We didn't realize how bad the old trans was.
Huh.
So, like, we start pulling this thing apart, and I'm looking up at it, and I'm like, dude, are you seeing this? I'm like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I'm like, there's the axle, right? I'm like, look to the right of where the axle was. Like,
That shit is
I'm like,
fucked
there's
up.
like a softball-sized hole in my transmission. I'm like, we got to
Damn.
figure something out. So we start pulling it apart, and when I tell you, it took me, so like, I've done transmissions in a day. Like, I've done transmissions, and it'll take me no time at all.
Damn,
And
that's
on, like,
it's so
that's
cool,
on newer
man.
cars though, where it's like a Hyundai, where I'm dropping the transmission out of the bottom, throwing the new trans up, and it's cake work. It's
No
nothing
shit,
crazy.
dude. It's badass,
This
man.
Mini Cooper beat me up for like 2 days after that. We were in this dude's garage to the point the guy who owned the garage is coming over. Like, you guys gonna get this thing out of here soon? And we're just like,
I don't
we're
know.
doing our best here,
Yeah.
man. Like, we'll see what happens.
Come back
But
tomorrow.
That by far was like 10 out of 10 the worst project I've ever had to go through because it took so long to do, and it was just so tight. You had no space to work. I put a stage 2 clutch in it, and it did okay for the first like month and a half after that.
yeah.
And then I blew through 7 axles in 2 months.
Jesus.
Knew it needed another trans, and I was like, "Fuck this!" I'm getting
Your dad, are you going through any issues with the vet?
Not yet, but while you're on this subject, we'll get back to that in a second because now I'm intrigued, man. So that was your most challenging
yeah.
project.
Yeah.
So what was your most favorite project?
So like for me, suspension work on any of my cars is always
Okay.
my favorite thing to do. I love when like I buy a new project, right? Like it's a base
Stock.
car coming in stock. and I'm
Nothing
looking at this
on
thing,
it.
and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
man.
I'm gonna ruin this.
I'm gonna
car."
fuck this
So-
up. Yep.
so, like, for
That's
me,
awesome, man.
Like, even my Miata. I don't know if he's ever seen my
So
Miata.
so real quick, everybody. So real quick, shout out to struggling.
Struggling MB on Instagram.
Yep,
yeah,
struggling
that's
MB
the
on
handle.
Instagram. Give my guy here a follow, man.
put it right
And-
here.
yep. So we're gonna shout that out, and then shout out to SoScare Club,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Big
Yes,
shout out
sir.
to those
Thank
fucking
you,
guys,
man.
man, making this all possible. And before this next clip comes up, and before Jared starts speaking again, we're gonna drop some pics of some of this beautiful ass Miata here, boys.
Yeah,
so.
it's a great time. But like, for me, all my cars are on the ground. I build my cars like people do. Like we're talking about different car people, right? There's guys.
Do you know what that
do-
means, Dad?
You're like to slam it down to the ground.
Yeah, on the ground. But
You
like,
gotta- you gotta-
so there's like, all right, so
you
like,
gotta
to break
dumb
it
it
down.
down.
There's static suspension. There's air suspension, right?
What is that? See
The
this
static suspension is when you're on coilovers, which is like your basic suspension that's on a normal car.
right?
Now you're buying upgraded versions of them with adjustable heights. There's rings and couplers on them that has the spring above it. You can adjust the height of it. You
Yeah.
can put different springs on it.
I
and
think he
play
should
with
drop his back, dude.
it. I don't. After I say this story, you might not. so like my favorite thing to do to cars is when I buy them, I'm like, I'm gonna get my suspension. I'm deciding what I want to get. With the Miata, I had BCs on the car when I bought it. I bought it off one of my buddies. It looked completely different, but it was at like stock height on the suspension.
And it was a different color too,
It
right?
was a different
It
blue.
was like a navy
yeah,
blue.
Like, I've got the car painted. Like it's been through the 9 now.
Yeah.
But when I bought that car, it was on BC suspension. I knew where I wanted the car to sit height wise. I knew how low I wanted it to be. But the trial and error of figuring out how low is too low is always my favorite part of it, right?
That's so
like,
crazy.
Like the Miata, for instance, I dumped the suspension out on that thing. I took the jack out of the bottom of it. I drove it around the block, and the entire drive around the block, the car is just dragging. So I was like, all right, this is too low, and I'm going back and forth adjusting the height on it. And I've done that with every car now.
Is it that easy to adjust the height, Jared?
No, it sounds super easy when I say that.
Yeah, because you're
But,
making this sound like you just twist a few fucking knobs down. This is
I'm going
crazy.
for a drive. I'm bringing it back into the driveway or the garage, wherever I'm at the time, and I'm lifting the car up. I'm taking all 4 wheels off, and there's 2 different spanner wrenches I'm putting in there. I break it loose, and I can adjust my suspension that way through a spanner wrench. Right?
Wow.
But there's also like multiple different ways to adjust the suspension on it. So for me, like, suspension is always my favorite to do on cars.
Fuck yeah,
now,
man.
Air suspension's a different animal though. Like, that's something I'm anti-air. I like old and simple. I like to have my car be on the ground. And
Right. So now going back to my dad's question, favorite project, brother.
I'm telling you, suspension all the way around.
But was there a certain...
On the Miata, suspension on the Miata,
on the Miata itself?
Was by far my favorite.
And now, so just for everybody out there, what are you whipping? What's your daily and what's your car show car?
So my daily's a truck. I got a Dodge Ram 1500, 2019. So I got a little dinged up yesterday. got a Dodge Ram, and then my show car is a 2000 MV Miata. So.
Beautiful,
and
man.
that's going to be this car here. I'm going to try to edit it in right here. It's going to be this car right here.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere here.
If it's the car that you showed me, so
it is.
It has the illusion that the wheels are...
Oh, yeah. So
can you please explain that to me?
So that's a whole other part of the suspension deal. Like, I say suspension,
Camber.
It sounds just like the height, but there's so much more that goes into it. So I have negative 14 degrees of camber squared all the way around the car.
Because, dude,
so camber,
I think camber will look badass on the vet, dude.
No, see, that's where you're wrong. Dude. That's where, like the little bit of a car purist in me is like, no, dude, we don't do that to that poor Corvette.
It's an 82.
Certain Corvettes, I've seen guys do camber on, and I'm like,
okay,
but it's also like a newer Corvette where I don't feel as bad to ruin it. There's more of them out there on the road to ruin.
and dude, after we're gonna take that.
Camber,
we're gonna check that out.
Camber is camber's like when you get an alignment, they adjust your camber technically, right? Camber is your wheels going in and out. It is the angle that your wheel is at in the sense of your right angle, right?
Sure.
So I'm at negative 14 degrees squared all the way around the car. So I did extended uppers and lowers. So my lower control arm and my upper control arms are both extended or shortened to make it so that it's at that negative 14 squared.
I have no idea what the fuck you're saying right now.
There's guys that will have adjustable extended lower and upper tire rod ends and control arms.
Which would allow the tire to be on an angle.
Yeah. So there's guys that will adjust it, though. And when you get into the adjusting it part of that, God, I want no parts in it.
Is it that in depth?
Yeah,
it's that tedious?
You could be a couple inches off, and it'll be so different. Right?
So now, when you do the left wheel, it's got to be exactly the same on the right wheel.
It has to be
So
exact.
for me, I get fabricated kits for my car. So like Aerofabs was the guy who made the kit for the Miata. That's just that's the uppers and lowers and the tie rod ends as well. There's extended tie rod ends. The uppers and lowers are both shortened and extended. But it's not adjustable. Like, there's no me taking the camber out of the car. Like, if I want to take the camber out, I'm getting the stock uppers and lowers, putting them back in the car.
That is so fucking cool, man.
Your car, so your show car.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to show a picture of this. So your show car, can you tell us everything that you've done to your show car and then capitalize with what the value of your show car is worth?
That is fucking a great question,
That's a crazy
Dad.
question.
That is awesome,
right
man.
now because it's a Miata, and the Miata market is insane. So, like...
So, actually, real quick, Jared,
go ahead.
My grandfather, his father...
The Mazda Miata? Yeah.
His father, my grandfather, has an MX-5. And it's just so fucking cool to see the difference between his stock Miata.
Yep.
So we're going to show that too.
I want to hear this though.
So back to what you're saying though, Jared.
So on the Miata, I have my wheel suspension, obviously. So I have upper control arms, lower control arms, tie rod ends. I did like stupid shit just for looks, right? So like drilled and slotted rotors, like tasteful things like that.
Yeah.
I did put a wing on it. I have a Japanese wing on the car.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Did lip kits, so like all types of like the front lip is another Japanese.
Yeah, front lip makes it so beautiful.
But
too,
it just
man.
brings the front
it
end
brings
down
it
lower,
so
and
good.
it looks good.
Oh, it does.
seats. I have Bride racing seats in it with a NRG quick release steering wheel. So my steering wheel comes out of the car.
Nice.
Besides that, like, there's certain things with me that I'm weird about that certain guys hate on. Like, I will not upgrade my radio. I have the radio from 2000 in that car, and I will keep that in that car.
Interesting.
Like,
Badass,
right
man.
now, it's not that cool, but, like, when I'm, like, 80 years old and this thing's still sitting in my garage, I'm like, yo, look at the radio in this
Yeah, it's
fucking thing.
badass, dude. Hell yeah, dude. That's cool as fuck, man.
When I bought this car, I bought it for $3,000. And right now, it could sell. It's kind of weird to say, right? Because I could take parts off
of it and sell for more potentially.
But it's like depends on who I'm selling it to, right? I could sell it to a young kid who's already gonna do these things to it, and he'll pay X amount of dollars. Versus if I take stuff off of it, it's kind of weird. But like, the thing about it is, even now, like when I bought my car at $3,000 would be like 5 or 6 now, just because of the way the market is.
So right now with the market, how much you think the Miata's worth, dude? Because it's a beautiful fucking car, man.
If I was to list that car, I would list it to 10 and let someone talk me down to like 8. Cool. And just let it rock. I would just see where it goes and just like throw it out there and let them talk me down. But I'd say like 10. 10's probably the fair number.
Dude, and the confidence is there, man, and that's what it's all about, man. I love that. And that's why, dude, Jared, you've been fucking an awesome guest tonight, man. The confidence, dude, man, the fact that you have that much confidence in your work says a lot about you, brother, man. You're giving us so much information and everything, and the fact that you have that much confidence in your own personal vehicle, man, I think that is fucking beautiful, brother. That is beautiful,
There's this other part of that where, like, this isn't saying I didn't take a loss on money when I built this car.
Yeah, so how many L's has the Miata given you?
So the front end's been repainted on the car twice. The whole car got painted at one point. So each time my front end's got redone, it's about $1,000.
Fuck!
Damn. I took the car to Gallenberg the past 2 years now, and both years in Gallenberg, I've managed to blow the front end apart because the car is just on the ground. Damn. So like the front bumper this year in Gal, I got the lip repainted, drove the car 5 miles all year. Besides that, it gets towed places, right? Took it to Gallenberg. I wanted the fresh paint for Gallenberg's first day in Gallenberg. I go to pull out of the driveway and I scratched the front lip across the whole front end of it. The paint itself was like $3,500. The suspension, you're looking at probably $1,000 to $2,000 in suspension. Wheels is another probably $1,000, $2,000 there. So like,
it's worth
I
it.
put a lot of money into it, but I also like I could confidently say I've built like my dream car.
Sure,
dude, and that's your blood, sweat, and tears, bro.
Yeah,
so you know,
and it's hard to put a value on something like that too.
For sure. Yeah.
So everything that you're saying, like I'm thinking, you guys say $10,000, I'm thinking a lot more. But again, what do I know?
And it's one of those things too, where like for me, when the number I would want to say, like I don't want to sell my car, but if I was gonna, I'd want to be like, $20K, right?
For sure.
But in all reality, that's not like that's my blood, sweat, and tears. That's mean the next guy who's buying it sees the same effort.
Not gonna lie, big change today in the world, so that might be possible, brother. But not gonna talk about that. Anyway, so
with my Corvette, so
that's what I wanted to get into. The vet.
I saw it. I was driving for work. I saw it out in the middle of nowhere.
This is beautiful. This is a fucking love story.
Accidentally drove past it. I was starving. I asked my customer, I'm like, hey, dude, let's go out to eat. I'll take you out to lunch somewhere. And he's like, I'm allergic to this and that. I'm like, all right, never mind.
Forget it.
I just said, Google, where's the closest restaurant? I went solo, and I was on these back roads in the middle of New Jersey. And I was driving down the road, and there it was, like shining, like Jesus was shining a flashlight on it. I was like, wow. I wasn't in the market for a vehicle. I did a U-turn. I stopped and I went back and checked it out, and I was like, wow, man. For some reason, I took pictures of it, and again, never even thought about it. I came home, and one day I was having a few drinks with my buddy. I'm like, I'm just curious what it's worth. Called the guy, and the guy's like, oh, it's like $12,000, and I was like, yeah. Okay.
Dude, wait, and real quick, Dad. This is incredible. My heart is just pounding with excitement right now because of what this guy, Jared, you're about to shit your pants. I'm sorry to cut you off, Father, but it's just.
What'd you buy that thing for, dude?
Yeah, dude. Get down to it, Dad. Stop teasing us.
So I let it. I said I was just curious. $12,000. All right, hey, I'm not even in the market. Just wanted to know. A week later, I was drinking with my buddy again. I'm like, I wonder if he sold that.
Yeah. I want it.
I called the guy up and I said, hey, did you sell that? And he's, no, it's still here. I was drinking. He must have been drinking too. An hour later, he's like, hey, so you're obviously interested. He goes, what's your bottom dollar? And I'm like, I don't want to insult you, man. Anyways, he goes, what's your bottom dollar? I I don't know, $700-800 in my petty cash drawer, and he's like, I told it to him. I said, I don't want to insult you, but this is what I can sneak out without the wife catching me.
Yeah.
He's like, if you can come tomorrow, it's yours. And I'm like, drove to New Jersey,
This
picked it
dude
up
woke up the next morning all hungover. Like,
Yeah,
shit,
yeah,
what did
yeah.
I do last night? He's
Then I
on
had
his
to ask
way.
for advice. Then I had to ask for permission to go up and get it.
Yep.
She didn't know anything about it. So
And for people out there, we're gonna put some pics down in here with the vet.
Yeah,
too,
I
for
saw it
sure.
coming in. It looks awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna put some pics up.
So
with the
let me
vet.
ask you this now. Guy who sold it to you, how old was he?
Ah,
Good
actually,
question. So that's a great question. So the guy that I spoke to was the mechanic, and
Okay.
he's the one that did all of the work to it. He was selling it for a wealthy person that converted over from Corvettes to Porsches.
Okay.
And this thing has been outside for like 2 to 3 weeks. Again, it's on back roads. They
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
advertising it.
Yeah.
So it's been outside for 2 to 3 weeks, and the guy I just threw him an offer, and I think the guy was like,
jumped
"Hey,
on
man,
it.
yeah." So, but it had a bunch of stuff done to it. An Ida Brook, like it. I can go down a whole list of things that it had done to it. But then, shout out to my cousin Dave, because I had it sitting here and the battery was dying, and
shout out Uncle Dave.
yeah, and then
That's my man.
one day I'm like, I really want to legalize this thing, and my cousin said, bring it over, and so he's that type of a smart person to where he's not. Well, I guess you can say he's mechanically inclined, but he investigates everything. So he's breaking out the manuals. He's digging in and diving in. Man, I took my car over to his house, and he's like, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, figure it out.
Yeah. And,
Hell yeah, dude.
He had it up on the stilts. He had
That's
the
awesome.
wheels off. He aligned it. He repaired the window motors.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
so much
the
to
thing
it.
is badass, man. It is an '82 vet, and the thing has goddamn electric windows. Like it is.
That's wild.
It is seriously such an incredible vehicle, man. And when you
took
get
out-
in that car, I think
It's
that's what's.
crossfire. It's crossfire injection. We took that out, but we kept it. So
Okay.
just in case I ever resell it.
Yeah.
So I do have that. I want to slap some new tires on it and maybe wheels and things like that. I'll talk to you about that
Yeah,
stuff later.
yeah.
but
And
I
that-
definitely want to do some work to it.
And that's what's so beautiful about cars, man, because I never thought I'd be sitting in a basement with my father and one of my closest friends, getting the connection that we're getting right now,
Dude,
guys.
but like that even
It
goes
is
back
so.
to like
It's just so incredible. So now, actually, real quick, now I have a few personal questions I want to ask you, Jared. But before we get into that, Dad, what? And I just to get your input on it, so you have an '82 Corvette. We have a gentleman here who knows a thing or two about cars. What is something you want to? Is there anything you want to do to the Corvette? Is there anything that you want to do to the vet that
Well,
you would think it'd be more appealing to?
I want it to look just badass, right?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the Batmobile. It's real curvy. I love the curve effect to it.
And it's got the glass top.
Yeah, the
Badass.
What I would envision with this thing at some point is, I definitely want to do something with the wheels. It's a wide body. I definitely want to do something with the dash. I think about doing that. Some of it's so old; it had some cracks in it here and there.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes I think maybe I want to do like a fiberglass type of, something.
to add a little pizzazz.
Yeah,
Right,
just
right,
something
right.
different. Right?
Spice.
That's kind of what my vision is.
So
for
like
it.
I feel like
And,
when
yeah,
it
so
comes
now,
to
Jared,
cars like
what would
that,
you do
right,
to an
like,
82 vet?
I would have the hardest time. Like for me personally,
Right.
I'd have the hardest time building a car like that because like
Because what do? It's like
you have to be so tasteful with it.
you either destroy it or make it
it's
beautiful.
not even that. You have to be so tasteful with it, right? For a car like that, you want your mods to still give the taste of when it was from.
Right,
So you
and
wanna
that's
do
what's
wheels on it,
important.
but you don't want to add some, like, let's say, like, for me, like, everything I buy, all my wheels are Japanese. All the wheels that go on the car are Japanese.
Right.
For a car like that, you want some American
Muscle, right.
muscle-looking
American,
wheels. You want some
right.
thick boy,
Them
meaty
big
tires,
fat-ass
some
tires,
good years
man.
on it.
Yeah, dude, there
something-
we go.
Something good with some
Write that
grippy
down.
boys.
Goodyear tires,
But
Dad.
like it's one of those things where I would have a hard time with it because I would sit here and I would want to mix old and new. With that car, you
Yeah.
can go one of two ways, right? You could flip that car 360 and make it like a 2023 inside
Right.
that thing and go
Right.
crazy with it, do digital everything.
Right.
Right.
Or you could try to keep it with the era it's from, right, in a certain aspect.
And I
do
think
tasteful things to it, and like suspension. Suspension is one of those things where you could still put suspension
Yeah.
on a car without making it look like super
Super-
jaunty and
right,
just over the
right.
top, right? Tires and wheels, like that's a car that you'd have to sit there for weeks and just look through wheels and be like,
which
these
one?
are them. Like I want to go with these. Tasteful mods to that thing are gonna be way different than the tasteful mods I would do to my cars. But like wheels for sure, definitely do some wheels. But like again, I would look through every wheel possible ever made. Find different brands. Like the brands that I'm buying are gonna be way different than brands you're gonna look at for a Corvette or a muscle car in general. So those are the things that like guys that we see out at shows. But even going back to like what you were saying earlier, that's how I build my connections with guys that are 30 years older than me. Like there's guys I talk to on a regular basis that are 40, 50, 70 years old, and they've been doing it for so long where like those are the guys I'm calling when I can't figure something out. I'm like, hey man, I got this going on. I'm on this car. Like, do you have any idea? And he's like, oh, I've done it 8 times backwards. Like, hey, I got you, no problem.
No
dude.
shit.
That's really cool.
But those are like cars like that are how I've built my connection with guys like that.
Beautiful, man.
So.
Dude, holy shit, man. That is incredible, Jared. Jared, I got a few questions for you, brother. And before we get into that, Dad, this is a pretty different episode for us here, man. We're getting into it. We're diving into a little bit of my age gap here, dealing with my friends. I feel like the last few episodes have been a little serious. This is kind of an episode we got to kick back a little bit and really enjoy it. Father, what exactly can you take from this? Is this something that is gonna? I have a question for him, but before we move on, do you have any more questions for this gentleman? And do you have any more future plans for the Corvette now?
Yeah, no, I definitely have. The Corvette's just never ending. I'm always going to try to just keep going with it, you know?
It's the glory of cars.
Right.
I got rid of the motorcycles. One of the motorcycles that I sold to one of his buddies, he remodded the whole thing.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
Yeah, he redid it
right.
a short while later, so... I definitely I like the model of the Corvette, the real curvy effect. So that's what attracted me to that style, and it was always my dream car as growing up as a kid. So, but I'll work on the engine. It's a 350.
So like if I ever get rid of my Miata, this is not funny to you. If I ever get rid of my Miata, my next car I want to be an older, probably the body style after that, where they did the straight body lines on it. Still has the flip-up headlights, though, needle nose front end on it.
Hell yeah.
I want to buy one of those and ruin it.
Hell yeah, dude.
That is like, I think if I ever get rid of the Miata or I decide to buy another project, I think that's on my list of
dude.
to-dos. I want to ruin a real old Corvette.
Beautiful, man.
I want to make an old man angry when I pull up to car.
Hell yeah, dude.
I want a 7-year-old to look at me and be like, what the hell
did you do?
Why did you do that?
Right. Hell yeah, man.
That's all I dream about.
So,
different cultures, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. It's incredible, man. So now, Dad, you got anything else for this young gentleman before I get into some personal questions?
Honestly, man, dude, I'm fascinated. I love your story. I love your journey. I love hearing it.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm super excited to see where you're going to go with it, because just having a business background, it's something unique. You're always looking for something unique and unique ideas, and I always tell everybody, you can have a million ideas, and then one of them is going to stick sooner or later. And it seems like you found your niche. I try to preach to Jesse all the time. He's trying to find himself. And I always say, listen, when you're passionate about something, and you said it yourself, when you're passionate about something, it's not work.
Yeah.
It's not work. And I was very passionate with my industry. I'm in the security industry. Yeah. I was very passionate with it at a young age. And that opened up so many different doors, and business just started moving along naturally, organically. And so, and that's something that Jesse was going to take over that security business back then, but he wasn't really passionate about it. So he had a hard time figuring out which doors to open and close.
Trying to find, I'm.
Yeah, so
listen, dude, I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, but you're doing it.
But you're doing it.
But you're doing it,
and that's what's inspiring, bro.
And you have to do it, So it's like you have to do it. So I'm inspired by that. That's really it's a great story, and definitely looking forward to see where you go with this.
Oh man, it's only been a year. We'll see where it goes next year.
Beautiful,
dude.
Man. So
bring me back on for year 2.
I'm
all about
hell
it.
yeah, man. Not to bring it up again, but hey, big day today, man. And shout out to 2025, man. We're looking for a big year.
It's gonna be a good one, dude.
We're gonna have a big year for everybody here, man. This is we're gonna do it this year for sure. And this is awesome opportunity for everybody. So
Hold on, before you jump onto that. So, what's your 5-year?
Shows this year, which is insane.
Whoa, what are we
I
hitting
wanna-
this year?
I want to double it next year. You know, if I can hit
Let's
somewhere
go.
to 40, you know, somewhere crazy like that, that's the goal. So like right now, my next 2 years, like leading out of this year into next year, I want to get my numbers up. I want to hit as many shows as I can.
Damn straight.
I want to go through the list of shows I've hit this year, realize the ones I've learned from, take them out of my list, and add different ones in there to try. My goal is within the next 5 years, though, I want to have by year 3, I want a shop. I want a shop that I could have anybody come to. I could have the full indie, like the business itself being ran out of it, printing shirts, doing it through us, not having an outsource for it, you know, trying to get as much of it made by us, like through us to bring our pricing down on a lot of it. So like by year 3, I want to have a shop. I want to have a place where people can come get their cars worked on.
Awesome.
I want to build it into more than just, you know, the clothing aspect of it. I would like to do detailing. I'd like to do mechanic work all through that same, you know, business and shop. But right now, like my by 5 years, I want to have it that in place. I want to hit less shows, so I don't have to hit as many shows. Bring my traveling down a little bit, you know, change the financials up on that aspect, and try to stay back home as much as I can, and still, you know, do the same thing, spread the same love without having to run myself wild, you know, driving.
Great
everywhere.
goals, man. Absolutely fucking great goals, man. Absolutely great goals.
But yeah,
man.
I want to have a shop. That is like the end goal for 5 years, is to have a shop and be fully like social media wise, everything set up and going to where I can just kind of sit back a little more.
Great
enjoy
Rocking
it.
and rolling, man.
Right now, I don't get to enjoy it as much. I feel like.
Hey, man, but hey,
Working
man.
too much.
There's beauty in the struggle.
Yep.
Beauty in the struggle, brother.
Hey,
Come on
man,
now.
I'm on the struggle bus this year. That's for sure.
Hey, you got to go through the fire. You know, to get from A to Z, you got to go through the whole alphabet.
Oh yeah.
Damn straight.
Yeah, I think I'm at maybe the P's right now.
Yeah, we're solving the P's and the Q's.
Yeah. I'm beauty of the social club side of it.
That's amazing.
There's no specific age group.
No.
You're targeting all ages.
All ages,
All
all
cultures.
cultures, and it is a very, very beautiful thing that you're doing, Jared. And I dude,
Just to add to that, though, there is cultures in the car scene that aren't healthy cultures, right?
really,
So like right now, our biggest issue in the car scene and what's killing us and what people don't realize, right? So there's guys on Instagram that'll preach it all day long. They're like, you know, fuck takeover culture, these takeovers.
No
like,
shit.
fuck the takeovers. Now, people don't realize it, but for guys like us who are doing this for a living, the takeover culture is what's going to kill our business, right?
Right.
So Philly, it's our biggest local city, right? In Philly right now, there's these guys that are taking over intersections. They're doing donuts. There's people getting hurt, and they're doing the bad side of the car. So right now, it's trying to reach out and network with these young guys that are coming up, showing them how to do it in the proper way, and not have them, you know, jumping into the same culture where they're doing stupid shit that's in the back end hurting us now.
And it's so crazy that you say that, Jared, because isn't it so crazy that there's no matter what you do in life, there's always going to be a problem or an issue.
Yeah, always a problem.
There's always pros and cons.
There's always pros and cons, man.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
There's always somebody that ruins it.
Yep. Always gotta be.
you seem like you overcame that issue,
definitely.
Jared.
We're
Man,
killing it.
it seems like
As a community, everybody is right
Yeah,
now.
man.
It's awesome to see.
It seems like you've surrounded yourself with a very good group of people, man. Hey, man, you're working with a company that's from Canada, man. That is in today's world, in what's going on in today's society, man. I think that is such a huge thing because people just need to get to that acceptance of just allowing other ideas, man.
yeah.
People are so close-minded,
anywhere.
man, and I think that is so fucking awesome that you're doing that, man. So,
I would actually. I'm grateful that you brought some merch. I love the I love the banners.
Yep.
You got all of your T-shirts, and we're going to throw up your website information. We'll blast out your Instagram information.
Definitely.
We'll definitely try to connect you. You know, I have a huge network. We have a huge network following. You know, through the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just connect you. You know, who knows?
Yeah, never
put
know
you
where
in a
you're gonna
bubble of
make a
connection.
network.
Hell yeah, man.
Man. Never know where you're gonna
Networking is
make a
key.
network.
so, dude, again, thank you, brother, and just for shits and giggles, man. I just want to get a few fun questions
All
out
right,
of you,
hit me
man.
with it.
I'm interested to see your answers here. For the people out there, like I said, man, we're trying to target everybody right now. So the
I got
Miata,
you.
is the Miata stick or manual?
It's manual.
It's manual.
Okay.
Do you prefer stick or manual? And do you judge whether or not someone's vehicle is stick or manual.
All right, so that's like that's a fun question, right? So manual isn't what it used to be now. There's guys that are buying these newer cars with the DSG in them, and some of these DSG cars are faster than the manual cars. Versus back in the day, that was the difference. So I've learned to respect my automatics. That is for sure. However,
Okay.
I'll put it like this. The truck I own now and the last truck I owned were the first vehicles I ever owned that weren't manual.
Interesting.
Let me get one of those.
My man. Here we go,
Put that
brother.
over there.
Ready?
Now the trucks are the first two vehicles I've owned that weren't manuals. I understand the comfort of driving an automatic. Thanks, Steve.
Got you, brother.
But I will always prefer manual over auto. If I had to pick just one, manual.
Manual?
All
Okay.
day.
Dad, you got one?
No, go keep going.
Keep going. All right. Okay. So, Jared, you're driving Miata, but you mentioned Nissan. What is your favorite car brand and why? And what do you want to drive? And I know we kind of talked about it already, but just brief summary. What's your favorite car brand?
That's a hard question.
You know what I
right?
mean? 'Cause
my favorite car brand is gonna be Nissan, right?
Okay.
Because they have so many older, crazy cars that they've built over the
Little
years.
Fair Lady.
The Fair Lady.
The Fair Lady.
All right,
Come
prime
on
example,
now.
300ZX,
Do you
all
like
those
the
old
new
Zs.
Z?
Yeah, I love it.
Ah,
They did a
do
really
you?
good job
Okay.
on it. I do.
We'll
They
get
did
into
a
that
great
a different
job.
time. We'll get into that in our own time. But back to
But I think Nissan's killing it right now. But if I had to pick, like, just
One car, bro.
Just one car.
one car
it's
every
gonna be
day.
my Miata any day of the week.
Really?
I love my Miata.
My man.
It's-
Are you
I
serious?
listen, so,
You're
like,
telling me you want to fucking drive that 2 fucking seater, huh?
14-year-old me, when I first started getting into cars, was like, these things are sick. And I've always loved the Miatas.
My man.
And at 20 years old or whatever it was, I finally had the opportunity to own one, and I don't regret it at all. I love that car. That is by far the one car I would pick.
That's cool, man. And I actually, not about me.
Yeah.
This episode's not about me, but I can connect with you there, man, because when I was a kid, bro, for some reason, man, an SI, a Honda Civic SI, brother,
Yep.
was all I wanted, man. A 2-door SI, brother. And let me tell you, man, when I came home from the military, dude, and Carvana sucks. Not shout out them. They fucked me. But
I got a car.
but hey, man, there was nothing greater in my life, man, when I was sitting on my couch and I saw that Honda Civic SI pull into my driveway, man.
good
It's
cherry red color, dude.
that cherry, yes, you know it, baby. You already know it, brother.
Love to see
You
it,
know
dude.
it,
Love
man.
to
So
see it.
it is a beautiful thing what a car can bring to a human being, and
The joy.
so going from that, we touched up on your favorite modifications. We know you love suspension. We know you love your Miata. You're a manual kind of guy. Now, to sum it all up, man, what is your next step, Jared? What is your next step, and what would you how do I put this into a good question?
Hold on. What is your next step? Throw that out there.
What is your next step
so my
with
next step-
with SoScare?
My next step with SoScare is to, like I said, double my schedule for next year.
Okay.
But my next step is to get through winter. Wintertime is by far the hardest time of the
makes
year for
sense.
us. That does
Right,
what
makes
we do
sense.
up here, right?
Makes
so
sense.
there's a reason that I drive to Florida. I'll make the
Right.
17-hour drive to Florida overnight because right now all of our shows are in Florida.
Okay.
There's nothing going on up here. So getting through winter is definitely going to be like my next step. It's a battle, and it's
And now going off that, Jared. So Jared, how old are you, brother?
24.
You're 24, Jared. So the car community is huge, man. The car community is fucking huge right now, Jared. And you are such an inspiration, man. And you're doing such a big thing. What is something that, and I'm coming up on 27, man. It's
100%.
expensive, dude.
So,
how do you relay this onto the next generation?
I would say, like, for starts, it doesn't happen overnight.
Okay.
It does not happen overnight. There's nothing that you will do. I've been doing this for, like I said, I started doing this when I was 14, right? And like I say now to people, I'm living my 16-year-old dream because 16-year-old me thought this was the shit.
Yeah.
You just can't give up. Don't ever lose your motivation. Like, motivation with cars is the hardest thing to do. Because a car will beat you up without
Right.
realizing
It's
it'll
just-
break on you.
and
You're
that's what
going
I'm
to try to
saying.
do certain mods, and it's not going to work. Don't give up on that and just continue to push. Like, once you just, when you take that next jump where you're like, this is what I want to do to this car, I'm going to make it happen one way or another, and I'm not going to let anything stop me along the way. And you just continue to hammer down and push, not letting the haters say anything, not letting other people's opinions. Build what you want for you, enjoy it, and just keep pushing, and it'll work itself out later.
I
That is
fucking
like-
love
that
that,
is like
man.
the number one
And
thing.
dude, Jared, I think that's something that everybody should take with every aspect of life because that is
Awesome.
truly fucking inspiring
Don't
right there,
stop.
man.
Well said for a young man.
Well fucking said. Dad, you got anything else for this young gentleman right
Yeah,
here?
man. Jared, thank you for joining us, man. We
course,
had a
thanks for
blast with
having
you.
me, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
look forward to reconnecting again in the near future.
Definitely.
Again, we're gonna get your information out. We'll connect the dots with anybody that we can.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Super stoked that you join us.
Oh yeah. So Jared, we're gonna list some pictures. We're gonna list some pictures of the Miata. Everybody out there, like, subscribe, go give my man Jared Instagram. What's your Instagram? Struggling
MB on Instagram. man.
Struggling MB on Instagram and SoScare.
Yes, sir. SoScare.tm on Instagram.
SoScare at TM. Yep.
Use
SoScare.tm.
code SoScare USA for 15% off on your next purchase.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. You got any shout outs you want to give?
That's all I got.
Hell
man.
yeah,
Shout
man.
out Brandon up in Canada
Yep,
for
so-
making this possible, dude.
You guys see it, man. And, like I said, Jared, dude, man, what a last few days it's been for you, man. And I just want to thank you so much for coming out here today, dude. I know you got a big day tomorrow, man. And welcome to Worky Wednesdays, man. This is a fucking
Oh, it's been
epic
great.
podcast, man. And I just want to say thank you for joining my father and I on this beautiful Wednesday day. On this beautiful Wednesday, brother. Seriously, man.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good shit, guys.
Hey, fellas, it's Worky Wednesdays. It's Jesse Jr. here.
Jesse Senior.
And like, subscribe, give us a follow, and tune in next week.
See you next time.
Yes, sir.
My man, Jared.